Hi, my name is Chris and this is Battle Nonsense. Now that the Battlefield Hardline beta is over, it's time to talk about the good and the bad things that we've seen there, because quite a lot of it will also be present when the game gets released next month. In this video I will not explain every detail of Battlefield Hardline, because you have surely seen one of the many videos that were released on YouTube while the beta was running, or you have played it yourself, so I'm sure that you already know the basics about the game. That is why I will focus on specific aspects of the beta, where I feel that these are very important for you to know when it comes to deciding if you want to buy that game or not. So let's start by discussing the question if what we tested was a beta or a demo. When a product is declared to be in its beta state, then this means that it is feature complete, but still has quite some bugs that have to be fixed before release. When you reach this phase of development, then you will only do small changes and bug fixes. And with every new beta build, the game becomes more stable and polished as you approach the release date. Once you feel confident that your code has reached a state that could be released, then you start to create release candidate builds and look for showstopper bugs that could prevent the release. Eventually one of the release candidate builds will then become the final build that gets released. So what we tested here was definitely a beta, but one that was very close to the release candidate, and this allows us to predict pretty good what Hardline will be like on release. Which brings us to the next question: is Hardline a true Battlefield game? The marketing department of EA surely tries to make clear that it is, but if you ask the players, then you will get very different answers. So I play Battlefield games since the year 2002 when Battlefield 1942 was released. And I played all the Battlefield games that were released later, including pretty much all the mods, add-ons, free maps, booster packs and DLCs. I also played Bad Company 1 on the Xbox 360 and Bad Company 2 on the PC. So what do I think? Is Hardline a true Battlefield? It has conquest, it has vehicles, it has helicopters and apparently also some sort of jets or planes which we have not seen yet. It also has a commander which is called Hacker. But if you ask me, then Hardline is not a true Battlefield game. It has a few similarities, but it just does not match how I picture a Battlefield game because of the experiences with the franchise that I had during the last 13 years. But Hardline must not be a true Battlefield game because it is Hardline and not Battlefield 5. It is the same as with Bad Company, which does use a military theme like the main Battlefield series, but in my opinion it is not a true Battlefield game either, and I honestly don't understand the players who criticize Bad Company and Hardline to be too different from the main Battlefield games. I want these games to feel different. I want that playing Battlefield feels very different to playing Bad Company, and playing Hardline must feel very different too. There have to be some similarities, but that's it. I don't want to have the same true Battlefield game to be annualized and released under a different name. I want variety. I want different experiences, and I want these three franchises to appeal to different kinds of gamers, so that everyone can pick the game or games that he likes, instead of having the studio to try and please everyone with one game. I have already said this in another video. What I would love to see is to have Battlefield, Bad Company and Hardline coexist, where they are released 1 year apart of each other. So that they would have a 3-year development cycle and at least 2.5 years of support, which means patches and content. So if you only like one of these games, then you just focus on that one. If you like others too, then you can play them as well. That is what I would like to have as a gamer. Now, what I like a lot in Hardline is the way that you unlock gadgets and weapons. You don't have to unlock 4 guns that you don't want until you finally get the one that you want to have. You can simply buy that gun directly by using the in-game money, and you earn that money by simply playing the game. But I kinda have the strange feeling that at some point you might be able to use real money, just like you can buy battle packs in Battlefield 4 with real money or those shortcut bundles. Though I hope that this will not happen in Hardline. So once you bought the gun, you can also buy the attachments. But before you can do that, you need to unlock the ability to buy an attachment by scoring kills with the gun. So while I do like that I can just buy any attachment, I'm not happy that there is this gate there that I first have to play with the naked gun until I can buy the scope that I want. Oh, and you have to buy the same scope over and over again for each weapon. I can understand that I need to do that for weapon specific parts like the barrel, but for some reason I need to buy the Cobra sight for every gun separately. The classes that we have in Hardline are basically the same as in Battlefield 4, but they are no longer as versatile. Visceral specialize the classes to do specific tasks, which reminds me a bit of the older Battlefield games, and this gives each of the classes a different feel, and that is something that I like a lot. Also, none of the classes is able to spawn with a RPG, which was a bold move by Visceral, but it really makes the gameplay better. And finally, we got loadout presets. This is something that we asked for since the Battlefield 3 alpha, so it is really great to finally see that implemented. You can have up to 5 loadout presets. But you need to unlock these first. Once you have one unlocked, you can simply change the loadout in this preset, and in the deploy screen you can then select the loadout you want to spawn with. What I really like about the weapon design is the recoil. The guns appear to have much more vertical recoil, which makes them more challenging to control, and the sight is kicking towards your face instead of dancing around the center of your screen as it does in Battlefield 4. A very small amount of visual recoil appears to be still in the game, but to be honest, it looks like it is so minor that it does not bother me. Now, what do I think about the time to kill, which is lower than in Battlefield 4? To be honest, I like that Hardline has a lower time to kill, but the weapons and their attachments clearly need another rebalancing pass, because right now the balancing is not quite right. But that is something that Visceral can still do until the game is released, so we will have to wait and see what they do with the feedback from the beta. Another good aspect of the weapon design or the animations is that when you see a player reload, then it appears that Visceral shows an animation that is shorter than the actual reload time. This means that you should not see a player start to fire while he is still inside his reload animation, which happens in Battlefield 4. What I don't like is the idle animation that is used for the players in Hardline, because then the player will lower the weapon so that it is pointing at the ground. And when the player then starts to fire, then the first shot will go into the ground. It also looks very odd when you enter a room and then get shot by a player who does not even point his gun at you. So I think that they should either remove that animation or at least not lower the gun that much, like in Bad Company. What looks very nice is the difference between aiming down sight and hip fire. Compared to Battlefield 4, suppression has also been changed so that it is only a visual effect in Hardline. But they should keep tweaking that effect, because what we've seen in the beta did not really look that good. What is also gone is front knifing and counter knifing, which is very good because the code that is driving that function in Battlefield 4 is really bad. As soon as one of the players has a latency issue, the whole system starts to freak out. So until they can get a better code for that, they should please not try to reintroduce this feature. I absolutely love games where the developers and designers show attention to detail, because I think that it really helps to get more immersed into the world of the game. And I have an eye for details, so if something is wrong, then this instantly catches my attention. That's why I like that we have working speedometers and rev counters for all cars and motorbikes in Hardline. I also like that the doors and bumpers of the cars can come off, because it looks great, and it also helps the player to know how damaged the car is by just looking at the vehicle. Now, how about the map design? I feel that the maps that we played in the beta have been very well designed for the objective gameplay. Unlike in Battlefield 4, where on a lot of maps you have to wonder why you have to defend this tree here, where the designer added a control point for some reason. But I would wish that I could use more of these vehicles that are placed around the map. Maybe have a gadget that allows me to steal it. On the maps you will also find these small stations, where you can get yourself healed, pick up some ammo, or even a defibrillator in case you need one. And since we just talked about ammo and medkits, you can approach any player who is running with a medic kit or ammo box, and then press E on your keyboard and you will get an ammo box or a medic bag. When this was first announced, then I was really upset, because this reduces teamwork, and I never ever want to have such a mechanic in a Battlefield game. But when you look at the overall game design of Hardline and the pace of this game, then I don't mind that feature in Hardline, as long as this guy I take the ammo box or medic bag from does not get any points at all for resupplying or healing me. He must only get points when he throws the ammo box or the medic bag. This would also be in line with the scoring system that Hardline uses, because objective and team-oriented gameplay gets highly rewarded. In the beta I've tried several times to just go for the objective and not play to get myself into position for a high kill-death ratio. And at the end of the round our team won, and I was on top of the scoreboard, despite my very bad kill-death ratio. I really like that the scoring system has a very strong focus on teamwork and objective play like the old Battlefield games had. Now, how about the game modes? Conquest does feel a little bit strange when you play it with cops and robbers, but it is still fun, as we've seen in the beta. What I liked about the minimap is that you can see the flag capture radius there, even though the radius should be a little bit smaller. Heist is a really awesome objective-focused game mode, and it fits very well into the theme of Hardline. If you want to avoid to lose this game mode in under 4 minutes, then you really have to play the objective. If you don't do that, then it's over. It is as simple as that, and I really enjoyed it. If you want to describe Hardline in one word, then it's hotwire. This different take on Conquest is fast-paced, chaotic and a lot of fun. When I played the beta for the first time, then I started to play Hotwire and I ended up playing it for 5 hours straight. I really enjoyed to drift around the map, which felt a little bit like playing Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. The vehicle physics make it feel like a relatively simple arcade racer, but for a game like Hardline, this is perfectly fine. So I really had a lot of fun when I played Hotwire for the first time, and I couldn't wait to play it again the next day. But when I did, I had to find out what Hotwire can also be like. Visceral needs to do something about those breaching charges and the trip mines that players have used extensively to stop the cars in the Hotwire game mode. Do you remember that I said before that you are no longer able to have RPGs in your loadout? This was definitely a good idea to reduce the explosive spam, but what Visceral added to Hardline is an unlock that allows you and your team members to take an RPG from the trunk of your car. And as we've seen in the beta, this can lead to players take a car and then camp on a strategic position of the map, where they can blow up every objective car that comes near them. While you can argue that this is teamwork, it can become so bad that both teams stop to use the objective cars, and at this point Hotwire turns into team deathmatch. So as we've seen in the beta, the explosive spam in Hardline is a real problem that Visceral has to fix for the final. Otherwise you will see a lot of trolls get attracted to the Hotwire game mode, which could eventually lead to the death of this mode. And I would personally find this very sad, because I enjoyed this game mode. But the RPGs in the vehicle trunks are not the only ones that are in the game. On the map there are a lot of battle pickups like grappling hooks, zip lines, anti-air missiles, light machine guns and RPGs. The issue with these battle pickups is that they always spawn at the exact same location, and as far as I can tell with a fixed delay between the spawns. So in the beta we have already seen players start to camp around the spawning location of specific weapons, which is not good. Battle pickups should spawn in random places, and with random delays, so that you can never predict where the RPG will spawn the next time. Because mostly it will be used in Hotwire to camp and wait for a car, or you use it to blow up a building. Well, or maybe you won't, because Hardline does have a few Levolution events and a very nice level of micro or cosmetic destruction, as I would like to call it. But if a player hides behind a wooden wall, then you cannot destroy it, and the player behind that thin wall does not even take any damage. This almost feels like playing Battlefield 2 again. While we should really have Bad Company 2 level of destruction here on a map like Dust Bowl. So Bad Company 2 ran on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, where it could also provide that level of destruction. Why is Hardline not able to do it? What did Visceral sacrifice that destruction for? I would rather have this destruction and not have any micro or cosmetic destruction if I had the choice, because the cosmetic destruction does not add anything to the gameplay. What will make this even more confusing is that the designers from Visceral said that on some maps you will be able to destroy walls, but on others like Dust Bowl you can't. I'm sorry, but this is a very bad choice that has been made here. But let's move on now to the next big topic, the netcode. What you've surely heard in the videos of a few of the big YouTubers recently is that the netcode and the hit registration feels so much better in Hardline than in Battlefield 4. Which is what we heard during the Battlefield 4 beta and the Battlefield 3 beta. Now what you need to know is that both Battlefield 4 and Hardline use exactly the same netcode. Sure, it has been improved during the last 6 months, and the next retail patch for Battlefield 4 will get the high frequency network update cone from the CTE to retail. which will help with longer distance firefights and the dusting when you try to shoot down a helicopter with a tank. But you still take damage around cover, receive impossible amounts of damage in one frame and experience rubber banding. The issue where late joiners collide with invisible objects, which are objects that have been destroyed before you joined the server, appears to be present in Hardline too. Just like the issue that players can have a wrong orientation. The problem with missing firing animations for your teammates, and rarely also for your enemies, exists as well. And insane delays will raise your blood pressure in Hardline when all involved players had a ping below 40 milliseconds. So you should definitely not expect to get a better netcode and hit registration in Hardline than what we have in Battlefield 4. But it is not just the netcode itself that is causing the problems, it is also the too low amount of server locations, because EA does not bother to actually have game servers available in all the regions they sell their games in. Some regions don't have any game servers at all and others have too few, and this actively creates out-of-region players. This situation is bad on PC, but it is even worse on the console, where you have even less server locations. And if you live in Australia, then you also know about the connection issue to the Blaze backend of EA that you guys are suffering from for many years now, which will kick all players from a server if it occurs. So again, don't buy Hardline in the hope that you will get a better hit registration than in Battlefield 4. But the netcode is not the only thing that Hardline and Battlefield 4 have in common. The configuration section for the HUD elements does provide most, but not all of the options that DICE added in the Battlefield 4 CTE. This is a direct copy of what we have in Battlefield 4. I'm happy that Hardline did get these options, but I expected Visceral to do more, to go one step further and actually implement a preview window, so that you know what you are changing there and how changing these values affects the HUD element. Then there's the spectator, which is a complete copy of what we have in Battlefield 4, which means that it also has exactly the same issues. The players impact with the spectator camera and move it around. The camera also gets stuck on all objects that are in the game, which makes it very hard to navigate indoor. The camera dies when you go out of bounds, and we have a very low ceiling. And we still don't have a battle recorder or demo recording like we had in the old Battlefield games before the Frostbite engine. How long does it take to finally get that feature back? Which brings me to the reskinned kill screen or kill card. I did expect more than this graphic that shows me in which part of the body I've been hit. This does not help. I still don't know if there were multiple players firing at me or just that one guy. I also don't know what my health was when he started to fire at me, because many times you think that you had 100 health, while you were already down to 30, which creates the impression that you died too fast, or died because of the netcode. I did expect to get a better kill cam and kill card that makes it clear to me how I got killed. Maybe even have a replay feature of the kill instead of showing me what happens around me after I got killed. But as we know, this requires demo recording. And that seems to be an impossible thing to ask for in the Frostbite engine games, because we keep asking for that since the first Bad Company has been released, which was 7 years ago. Now, Hardline looks to me like an over-the-top action movie from Hollywood, and I did hope that the sound design would match that. I thought that maybe we would get such powerful sounds as in Bad Company, but sadly we don't, which is a little bit disappointing. The sound is still very good in Hardline, but I was just hoping for a little bit more. What is new in Hardline is the perk system. When you reach a certain amount of points, then you can press the Q button and select one of 2 perks. But the Q button is already used to bring up the com rows. So if you want to use the com rows, then you first have to select the perk and then press Q again to get to the com rows. If you have piled up 3 perks, then you have to press the Q button 4 times to actually get to the com rows. Now, I could suggest a different approach for the perk selection, but what I actually want to suggest is to remove the com rows from Hardline. A game like Hardline would in my opinion be perfectly fine with the communication system that Bad Company 2 had. While in Battlefield, I not only want the com rows, but also the tactical rows, as well as the tactical map, which we had in Battlefield 2 and Battlefield 2142. But I wouldn't stop at removing the com rows. I'd even get rid of the commander or hacker mode, as it is called in Hardline. It basically has all the same issues as the mode has in Battlefield 4, and I honestly didn't feel any connection to what is going on the ground when I played as a hacker. And when I was on the ground and we had hackers online, I didn't feel that they had an impact on how the game played. Hardline could do well without the hacker mode, and the resources that were spent on it should have better been spent on other aspects of the game. And before we end the video, let's talk about the pre-order bonuses. As you just learned, the L85A2 will be an exclusive gun to be used for the Enforcer class for those of you who pre-ordered the game and the Precision Battle Pack. If you watched my previous videos, then you know how greatly I despise that pre-order culture that we have today. Because don't be fooled, these bonuses are not rewards, they are meant to create an incentive to buy an unfinished game. The publisher wants you to buy the game based on PR material and playing a beta where you only see a part of the game that the developers want you to see. So every sane gamer and responsible consumer waits for reviews of the final game before he opens his wallet. And that is what the publisher wants to avoid by coming up with exclusive weapons and other in-game stuff, as well as early access to the first DLC and things like that, to get the gamers to buy a game that is still in development. This is an awful business practice, and it will continue as long as gamers are so irresponsible and buy games that have not even been released and reviewed yet. The thing about the L85A2 and all the other weapons in Hardline that were present in Battlefield 4 as well, is that the weapon models are nearly identical. What has been changed are the textures and the animations. So on one hand it makes perfect sense to reuse the existing models from Battlefield 4 instead of redoing all these models just for the sake of redoing them. But there's still so much of Battlefield 4 that is bleeding through in Hardline that reusing the same gun models and even making one of them a pre-order exclusive bonus does not really help how I feel about the game, because I already spent 120 euros on Battlefield 4. So, I did have quite a lot of fun in Hardline playing the beta. It's fast-paced, fun, and it has a lot of very interesting and good game mechanics. I like the game modes, and I also like the map design. And the theme, I also like, cops versus robbers, that works for me. As I said after the E3 beta, this franchise does have a lot of potential, and I would like to see it succeed. But there are a few things in Hardline that just don't work for me, like the hacker mode, which feels so out of place. Then there's the destruction, which is very disappointing, at least on the maps that we've seen in the beta. If other maps really have more destruction, then this is good for these maps, but when you look at the entire game, then it's not good to have the destruction work differently on each map. So that a building can be destroyed on one map, but on another map you cannot destroy it. Then there's the lack of improvements to the spectator, kill cam, netcode, configuration menu and many other aspects of the game. So we've still not seen everything that Hardline has to offer because it has not been released yet. But at this point I cannot see myself spending 60 euros on Hardline after what I've seen in the beta. And let's not forget that you have to consider the costs of a premium program too. So I will wait for the reviews of the final game before I open my wallet for EA and buy Hardline. Who knows, maybe the single player is really good, then this could make the difference for me to buy it for full price. Otherwise I will wait until I can get it for a much lower price. So that's what I think about Hardline. And now it's your turn to let me know what you think about it. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a like, subscribe for more, and I hope to see you next time. Until then, have a nice day and take care. My name is Chris and this was Battle Nonsense.